I'm a plain Jane. Took on a top tier player. 1 year later, he came home later and later, his gaze growing more disdainful each time he looked at me. I overheard him say to someone, "What right does such an ordinary woman have to make me settle down?" I breathed a long sigh of relief. Perfect. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had a reason to ask for a divorce. That's just how plain Janes are, always thinking of others first. Late at night, Fin Fong, who hadn't shown up for 2 months and missed our anniversary, returned, half asleep. I was turned over. Before my face was buried in the pillow, I caught a whiff of pungent perfume, bold and intense, just like Fin Fong himself. But it was women's perfume. Struggling to turn my head, I saw a face so handsome it had no bad angles. His Adam's apple, large as a pigeon egg, bobbed. His 8-pack abs were solid like fortress walls. His shark muscles sharply defined and striking. His eyes burned with a desire that threatened to consume me entirely. No wonder it's topped the must-try list by unscrupulous media outlets for 5 consecutive years. Seeing my face, Fin Fong paused, his eyes clearing slightly as his enthusiasm visibly waned. But he had no intention of stopping. Where he touched me felt like it was under a spotlight, raising goosebumps, making me instinctively want to flee. I called him hubby twice, my voice coming out syrupy and clingy. I pitched my voice higher and said, "Hubby, why are you back early? I missed you so much. I couldn't even eat dinner thinking of you." That completely killed Fin Fang's mood. He stopped, climbed off the bed, and reached for the cigarettes in the nightstand. He said, "Are you a 3-year-old who can't feed yourself?" I breathed a sigh of relief, brushing him off with the absurd excuse of missing him too much. Logically, a man like Fin Fong, who's been around, should have seen through my lie easily. But who could blame him when I've always acted so devoted? I chased after him for 3 years, watching his girlfriends come and go like crops in a field, yet I never backed down. Fin Fong remarked that I was the longest lasting simp he'd ever seen. I drifted back to sleep. Fin Fong went out to the balcony to smoke. He was on a call, his voice faintly drifting into my ears. "Brother Fong, it's been ages since you came out to play. Staying celibate for the missus?" Fin Fong scoffed. "A woman as ordinary as her. What right does she have to make me settle down?" To be honest, the first time, I almost couldn't bring myself to kiss her. The person on the other end of the line burst into laughter. Fin Fong cursed. "It's the middle of the night. Everyone's asleep. Keep it down." Just as I was about to fall asleep, Fin Fong finished his cigarette and returned. He placed a small box beside my pillow, fighting off sleepiness. I took a glance. Inside the box was a pair of diamond earrings. They were quite beautiful. If I hadn't seen another piece from the same collection, a necklace 10 times its price, and didn't know these were actually free gifts with purchase. But I wasn't the least bit angry. In fact, I felt a faint sense of anticipation. It had been a year. After marrying Fin Fong, it seemed like he had completely settled down. Finally, he was about to lose his patience. So was I. I'm a plain Jane, but I'm looks obsessed, though I look ordinary. I adore handsome men. The thought of an ugly man grinding on top of me makes me wish I were dead. I've worked extremely hard since I was a child, because I knew deep down that without looks or family background, no handsome man would ever like me in this lifetime. I did fairly well on the college entrance exam, but it wasn't enough. Top-tier universities are everywhere, while state school graduates are treated like dogs. Getting a master's degree still wasn't enough. So I went for a PhD. With my plain Jane face and unquestioning obedience to my advisor, I managed to enter a top research institute with excellent grades. I thought that was about enough. But the moment I laid eyes on Fin Fong, I knew it was far from sufficient. I drank with my superiors, went back to work overtime after drinking, and even wrote papers for my boss's kids on weekends. Finally, at a young age, I reached the level of mid-level manager. I began to have the qualifications to pursue Fin Fong. While pursuing Fin Fong, people also try to set me up on dates. I went to meet them. After each meeting, my resolve to chase Fin only grew stronger. Every time a blind date ended, I'd go find Fin to cleanse my eyes. Once, at 2 in the morning, He happened to need a designated driver, and I went without hesitation. Finn asked me, "Do you really like me that much?" As he asked, there was a stunning, half-drunk woman in the passenger seat of his convertible, her shoulder partly exposed. I nodded emphatically, without a second thought. "Because I don't have a thing for ugly people," I said. "Finn, I love you. Everyone has an eye for beauty. That's how the saying should be used. If it only meant loving to dress up prettily, that would be far too shallow. No matter how I look, I love myself." Finn burst into laughter at my sudden confession. His tousled hair blew back in the wind, revealing his narrow, long, lashed eyes, unbelievably gorgeous. I suspect he had work done, but I don't mind. His pink, tinged knuckles held a slender mint-flavored cigarette, but ash shaking loose with his trembling and falling to the ground. Serena Chun, you're the first person to make me laugh in a long time. Yeah, even my name is that ordinary. Starting that night, he began giving me a bit of response. From refusing every one of my 10 invitations, he started accepting 1 or 2 when he was in a good mood. Sometimes, he'd even grace me by eating the meals I brought him. But in the end, we got together. Not like some idle drama where he was moved by me and the playboy reformed for my sake. He was just tired of playing around and getting pressure by his family to marry. I'm highly educated, don't run in wild circles, have a respectable job, and am a homemaker at heart. Everyone in Fin Fang's family, except him, liked me. I don't care about the reason. I just know I'll never have to have nightmares about an ugly husband and an ugly son again. The day I posted our announcement on social media, I finally held my head high. I proved all those who said I was delusional wrong. Wedding venue, gazing at Fin Fang's face. A veritable masterpiece of divine craftsmanship. I flushed with such intense excitement, I practically overheated. His 8-pack abs teased me faintly through his shirt, a tantalizing hint of perfection. When the officiant told us to kiss, I accidentally brushed against his firm chest and pert nipples. If only I could tie him up in a diamond-shaped sherbari. Just the thought made my legs go weak. The innocence of a pure maiden like me. Fin Fang noticed nothing amiss. After all, I'm just a plain Jane. His kiss was perfunctory, all technique, zero emotion. I didn't mind. I could find my own pleasure. That night, I was so blissful, I felt ready to burst. My heart swelled like a sponge saturated with spring water. I let out a contented sigh. The only flaw was Fin Fang's lack of attentiveness. He showed zero regard for my satisfaction. Then again, I was probably the least attractive person he'd ever slept with. Outside, streetlights glowed like man-made stars, soothing humanity's longing for a lost celestial canopy. I gazed at Fin Fang's sleeping face and couldn't help but smile. Those sharp, thick eyebrows, that tall, straight nose bridge, those beautifully shaped thin lips. Goddamn handsome, even more good-looking than A-list celebrities. Apart from not liking me, he has no flaws. Oh well, nobody's perfect. As long as his face isn't ruined, I'll always love him. We plain Janes are just that loyal in love. But is what I feel for Fin Fang really love? What exactly is love? Freud said, love stems from humanity's longing for self-completion. Jung said, great souls are androgynous. So, called love at first sight is merely falling for another version of oneself. So when I fell for Fin Fang back then, it might have been my pursuit of a complete self. But now I'm already complete. The next day, when I woke up, Fin Fang was still asleep. His phone kept buzzing with notifications, the profile pictures and names all looking like influencers. As for the content, I didn't look. Considerately, I plugged in his nearly dead phone to charge. As I stepped over Fin Fang, he grabbed my ankle. Without opening his eyes, he pulled me down until I tumbled onto him. Help me out. His voice was still husky with sleep, unbearably deep and sexy. A year ago, I would have eagerly thrown myself at him. But now, I awkwardly climbed off him. Honey, a big boss is visiting today. I can't be late. Fin Fang's expression darkened. Before leaving, I made sure to tell him, honey, I'll be away on a business trip for 3 days. Take care of yourself. Worried he might not have heard, I sent the same message again via WeChat. but I still felt uneasy because I remembered he had set my WeChat messages to do not disturb. So I sent a message to one of Finn's troublemaker friends. I'll be away on business for 3 days. Please keep an eye on Finn for me. Thanks, smiley emoji. I arrived at the office right on time. That evening, I stayed late to work overtime. The boss even showed special concern for me. Xiao Chun, since the business trip was postponed last minute, there's no need to rush preparing the materials. Head home early. I'll leave as soon as I finish organizing these documents. That's what I said, but I didn't clock out until 10:30. 10:30, through the surveillance app on my phone, I saw a woman knocking on my door. When the door opened, Fin Fong was only wearing sleep pants. The woman seemed coy. Fin Fong looked her over twice, then stepped aside to let her in. I nearly floored the accelerator. No rush. No rush. Fin Fong isn't that fast. 11 o'clock. I arrived at my doorstep. My hand trembled as I entered the code, mistyping it once. The door opened to a scene of utter chaos. Lace panties, torn stockings, a sight too indecent to behold. For a plain Jane like me, it was a massive shock. But Fin Fong seemed much quicker than I'd imagined. The bedroom door swung open abruptly before my eyes. The naked woman was shoved toward the door, complaining to the person in the bedroom with a pout. Fin, I flew all the way here for you. Don't kick me out so soon. If you like other kinds of fun. Her answer was the lingerie Fin threw at her. I transferred you the flight money. Get lost, Fin said lazily as he stepped out. The woman still refused to give up. If I'm not your type, I have a friend. Drop. Dead gorgeous. Let me show you her picture. She's at a club nearby. We could all go hang out. He lifted his eyelids, glanced at the photo, but didn't get a chance to speak. Then, he looked up and saw me. The woman instantly fell silent. The room went quiet. Before leaving, the woman still called out, I sent you the address. Hurry up and come. Fin slammed the door shut. He turned to me and asked, Why are you back early? Have you eaten dinner? Want something? I'll order takeout for you. His expression was perfectly natural, not a trace of guilt at being caught red-handed, but he was talking much more than usual. I didn't respond with a single word. Fin Fong reached for the cigarettes in the coffee table drawer. It suddenly occurred to me that Fin had once been deeply fond of one of his ex-girlfriends. She disliked the smell of smoke and outright said she didn't want to breathe secondhand smoke. During that time, Fin quit smoking. Unfortunately, she later went abroad for career opportunities, and the two parted ways amicably due to the long distance. If they hadn't broken up, there probably wouldn't have been any place for me in his life. After that, Fin never quit smoking for anyone again. Certainly not for me, but I didn't want to breathe secondhand smoke either. So I made a habit of collecting and throwing away the cigarettes at home regularly. Not finding any cigarettes, Fin scratched his hair in frustration. A few seconds later, he pulled me into his arms and kissed me. I didn't close my eyes and saw the look of grim determination on his face. I pushed him away. Fin's expression turned sour. He probably had never been rejected by a woman before, especially not by someone as ordinary as me. I confronted him. Who was that woman just now? What do you think? Impatience flickered in Fin Feng's eyes. Serena Chun, have I been spoiling you too much? Back then, you were the one who pursued me, the one who stubbornly insisted on being with me. It's not like you didn't know what I was like from day one. You accepted it long ago. So what's all this fuss about now? A few tears fell as I smiled bitterly. I accepted that the person I pursued would date others, break up, date again, and break up again. But I never said I would accept my husband cheating on me. My tears came crashing down. Fin's hand trembled slightly, his expression shifting. But moments later, he said, What's the difference? If you can't accept it, you can divorce me. He said the word divorce as lightly as a feather. Just like when he broke up with every one of his ex-girlfriends, he was certain I couldn't bear to lose him, that I would cry and make a scene to win him back. Just like all his previous girlfriends, perhaps even more extreme. Once, I thought so too. The streetlights outside seemed to have gone out, twinkling and shimmering. They looked even more like stars. But around 4 or 5 in the morning, they'd vanish in an instant, jolting you wide awake. Not even Cinderella at midnight. At least she was a genuinely kind-hearted beauty when the spell wore off. I spoke softly. All right. Fin Feng froze, still processing it, but I continued before he could react. Fin, let's get a divorce. Fin's face instantly twisted into something ugly. So ugly, I thought he might hit me. He laughed in furious disbelief. Serena Chun, you've got some nerve. Don't come crawling back to me like a pathetic lapdog when you regret this. I'm the one dumping you. As he left, he held his phone on speaker. Send me the address again. I'll be right over. The phone blared with the chaotic music of a nightclub and that woman's voice from earlier. Hurry up. My friend's heard about you. She likes you too. We could all three. Fin walked away without a backward glance. The door slammed shut in my face once again. The wedding photo on the wall trembled from the impact. The handsome groom stood arm in arm with his bride, a minor beauty after expensive Photoshop retouching, both radiating sweetness. The bride gazed at the groom, her eyes filled with love. The groom, however, looked at the camera, calm yet slightly impatient. No matter how you looked at it, they were mismatched. Thankfully, it ends here. I let out a long sigh of relief, completely relaxing. Actually, there was one more thing I lied to Fin Feng about. My business trip wasn't for 3 days. It was for 3 years. At the entrance of City Hall, I waited for Fin Feng from 9 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon. He never showed up. I thought he'd storm in with some beauty by his side to divorce me after getting my text. Made me waste an extra day of personal leave. Whatever. 2 years of separation is enough to file for divorce anyway. Maybe it's for the best. A temporarily married status and the facade of a happy family might help with my performance review and promotion. I didn't try contacting Fin Feng again, but posted a few emoji-filled WeChat moments visible only to him and his good. 4. Nothing friends. The day before leaving, I received a message from one of Fin's worthless friends. Sarah Chun, you and Fin Feng aren't from the same world. I couldn't be bothered to correct him for getting my name wrong. Right after, he sent a video. In the video, Fin was holding a liquor bottle with one hand, leaning back on the sofa. The alcohol trickled down his neck into his clothes, leaving suggestive trails. He was flanked by beauties on both sides, the kind that would make passers-by do a double take. Whoever filmed this clearly meant to show me how recklessly carefree Fin was. But just then, someone shouted, "Aria and returned last week." Fin showed no reaction, but knowing him so well, I instantly noticed his grip on the bottle tighten fiercely. No wonder. Fin Feng left work early not to make up for the missed anniversary, but to not miss her. Aria and, what a novel-esque heroine's name. She was Fin's ex who had gone abroad to pursue her career, the one he had once considered marrying, the woman truly capable of making a playboy reform and a player settle down. The video was poorly shot. The heroine only made a dazzling entrance in the last 30 seconds. The enchanting woman appeared at the private room's entrance and, amid the crowd's cheers, walked straight toward Fin. The video cut off abruptly. After hesitating for a moment, I decided to go check it out. At the club's entrance, I easily spotted Fin's car, an Audi RS7. I arrived just in time to see Fin stepping out with a cigarette. He leaned against the car, long legs crossed, his slightly curly hair tousled by the evening breeze, revealing a sharp and defined jawline. His striking looks drew sidelong glances from many passers-by, but none of them caught Fin Feng's eye, until Aria emerged. She forced an ingratiating yet awkward smile, feigning nonchalance, as she said, "Fin, do you really dislike me that much?" Not even a single greeting. Fin paid her no mind. Yet, as she drew near, he stubbed out the cigarette he'd only taken 2 drags from. "I heard you got married. To that woman who's been fawning over you for years? None of your damn business." Aria wasn't deterred by Fin's attitude. She pressed on. "Do you love her?" Fin let out a cold laugh, but offered no reply. Then, a prolonged silence fell. Aria gazed quietly at Fin, her eyes tracing the lines of his brow and gaze. Fin allowed her to study him without protest. Time suddenly felt thick and unnaturally drawn out. Finally, Aria turned to leave. Before going, she said, I've never been one for regrets, yet I can't help wondering if I hadn't left back then. Anyway, I wish you a happy marriage. Her words were drowned out by the sound of passing vehicles, but I knew Fin Feng heard every single word. He abruptly spoke up. I never liked her. I ended the video recording. I originally intended to use some leverage to make Fin Feng divorce me quickly. Now, it seems I was completely reading too much into things. Fin Feng didn't show up at City Hall simply because he was having too much fun and didn't see my message. Not because he didn't want to divorce me. The night breeze, carrying Fin Feng's scent, gently brushed past my unconsciously moistened eyes. 3 years of chasing. 1 year of finally getting what I wished for. I once thought I would spend my whole life with Fin Feng. I thought that when Fin Feng grew old, the gap in our looks would narrow, and no one would say we were mismatched anymore. This past year, we shared quite a few warm moments, like shopping at the supermarket together, watching TV together. Well, it was just okay. To say I had no feelings for Fin Feng would be impossible. Plain Janes like us always end up getting hurt. Thankfully, the emotional attachment wasn't that deep. With my hands in my pockets, I walked away with light, brisk steps, leaving behind the reunited couple who couldn't resist kissing passionately. I cast them out of my mind. That night, I left the divorce papers behind and boarded the plane. It had been a month since Serena Chen brought up divorce, and Fin Feng hadn't returned home since that night. During this time, he either stayed with friends, crashed at nightclubs, or sometimes even Arya and was sitting beside Fin Feng, noticing his gaze. She turned her head and offered a gentle smile. Around her slender swan-like neck was a diamond necklace. Come to think of it, he had bought it as a set. There was a pair of diamond earrings too. On the day he heard Arya and was returning, he had been at the jewelry store picking out an anniversary gift for Serena Chen. He hadn't actually planned on giving it to her. He had long grown tired of celebrating all sorts of holidays. Maybe back when he was young and in his first love, he used to make an effort. But after dating more and more people, he just stopped bothering. But it was the first time for our wedding anniversary. While he was on a business trip, he received a message from Serena Chen. She said, "Happy anniversary, hubby, work hard," along with a picture of a scarf she was knitting. To Fin Feng, it was both tacky and oddly endearing. So, he walked into a jewelry store. When he saw that diamond necklace, he thought of Arya. And Arya was in the same industry as him, also a model. Her neck was exceptionally beautiful, like a swan's. But even Fin himself never expected he'd end up marrying not the swan, but the ugly duckling. At that thought, Fin couldn't help but smile. And just then, as if fate was playing a joke on him, he got a call from a friend. Arya and was coming back, and she was still single. As his friend chattered on, Fin had already asked the clerk to wrap up the diamond necklace. The clerk said, "Sir, this is our season's hottest new item, and it comes with a complimentary pair of diamond earrings. Arya and doesn't have pierced ears. Serena Chen does." So, he was buying an anniversary gift for Serena Chen. On the phone, his friend overheard and teased him. "You're not planning to give this to Arya, and are you?" Fin Feng said, "No way. Why would he give a gift to a woman who dumped him? Wouldn't that just make him a pathetic fool?" But now, that necklace was now draped around Arya's neck. She didn't need to do anything. Just quietly watching him was enough to make her his exception. Their souls were in sync, and their bodies even more so. Fin Feng's phone suddenly vibrated. Serena Chen's name flashed through his mind. After unlocking it, he remembered he had long set Serena Chen's messages to do not disturb. So, the sender couldn't be Serena Chen. Fin Feng tossed his phone aside. Arya and suddenly sneezed and snuggled into Fin Feng's arms. She said, "It's already spring. Why is it still so cold? I should have brought my scarf." Fin Feng remembered the scarf Serena Chen had knitted for him. He said, "I have one. Let me get it for you." With that, he grabbed his car keys and stood up. Friends were still teasing. "Ugh, stop making us singles jealous." First time seeing Brother Fin being so considerate. Arya and looked slightly embarrassed, but her eyes sparkled with pride. Though many people came and went around Fin, She was the one he truly loved. Of course, she had no shortage of admirers around her either. Yet, Finn always managed to stand out. Arya thought Finn was fetching it from his car, unaware he was driving home to get it. The night wind whistled past his ears. Another driver yelled through the window at him for changing lanes abruptly. Arriving home, Finn glanced at the time. Serena Chun was probably already asleep at this hour, but he didn't bother to tread lightly for her sake. Swinging the door open louder than usual, without even changing his shoes, he walked into the bedroom and asked, "Where's the scarf you knitted for me?" The bedroom was dead silent. No one answered him. Fin Fong turned on the light. Of course, there was no one in the bed. On the bedside table sat a small box. Inside were those diamond earrings. In the living room, on the table, Finn saw the divorce agreement. I had crossed thousands of kilometers. The distance between north and south felt like traveling abroad. It took me a month to adjust to the humid southern climate, no longer letting sticky hair ruin my mood. Sis, don't judge by appearances. I'm actually someone who holds grudges. The guy in front of me, try and make small talk, was someone I matched with on a dating app. He was good looking, but I had nothing to say to him. I faked an alarm and left. In this unfamiliar place, I indulged freely on dating apps, unafraid of being spotted by anyone I knew. I met a different man each week, just to pass the time. The best way to break the spell of handsome men is to actually meet them, though I no longer obsess over beauty as much these days. Who would willingly choose an unattractive man? 2 months into the Finding Gold in the Dirt project, I actually struck gold. The man was 15 minutes late. He wore an impeccably tailored suit, his hair styled with wax, though a few strands had fallen loose, likely from rushing, making him look less formal. His features were soft and pleasant, a straight nose, lips neither too thin nor too full, and corners that seemed naturally upturned in a subtle smile. Not as striking as Fin Fong, but effortlessly easy on the eyes. His manners were just as polished. My apologies, dinner is on me. Over the course of the meal, I realized we were from entirely different social strata, likely far wealthier than even Fin Feng's family. The Fongs were a comfortably well-off local family in North City. Fin worked as a model and ran his own streetwear brand, earning plenty, but spending even more. But this man, I couldn't read him at all. The entire conversation felt effortless and comfortable, which meant he was deliberately meeting me at my level. Logically, I knew I shouldn't be killing time with someone like him, but emotionally, I was reluctant to let him go, especially when I almost stumbled and he caught me. He let go of my hand like a gentleman, instead supporting my arm, and once I steadied myself, he promptly created some distance. So proper it felt almost intimidating. I caught a whiff of his cool, crisp cologne. It seemed to be silver mountain water. Almost without thinking, I said, "Mr. Jiang, care to grab a drink?" Jason Jiang looked surprised for a moment. After a pause, he smiled. "This isn't what we agreed on when you asked me out." I didn't press further. "Never mind then." As soon as I finished, Jason Jiang said, "I don't like going to bars," meaning we should go to his place. Maybe it was the particularly enchanting southern night. Streetlights shimmered, vibrant and bright. Without hesitation, I nodded. "Okay, we're both adults. No need for pretense." Half an hour later, Jason Jiang and I sat by the roadside, clinking our bottles. Yeah, it's not like the world only has bars in my apartment. 1 bottle down, I started talking to him about Hegel, Kant, and my views on love. 2 bottles down, I told him I was married to an incredibly handsome man, a childhood dream come true. He raised an eyebrow but didn't leave. 3 bottles down, I said the relationship had fallen apart. We were separated and divorcing, so it didn't count as cheating. Jason Jiang seemed to smile and said, "Even if you were cheating, I wouldn't mind. When an immoral act doesn't hurt anyone, it's not really immoral." I said, "That's just sophistry." 4 bottles down, I talked with him about marriage systems from the Tang Dynasty to now. 8 bottles down, I asked him, "Are you big?" I woke up in my own home. Jason Jiang brought me back, put me to bed, even helped me remove my makeup, then left. Recalling last night's events, I felt a bit annoyed. It seems, for the sake of my pride, I have to give up on this golden opportunity. Maybe it just wasn't meant to be. That thought lingered until Monday, when I saw the new boss in the conference room, Jason Jiang, dressed in a shirt, trench coat, and dress pants, looked tall, poised, and authoritative. He smiled and greeted everyone, looking forward to working with you all. No wonder we got along so well. Turns out we're grazing in the same pasture. A well-informed female colleague whispered in my ear. I heard he has connections up top. This kind of gossip is tasteless. I brushed it off with a couple of vague replies. My colleague, competitive now, said, just wait, I'll dig deeper and report back. She spent the whole morning digging and came back with a few more tidbits. Harvard graduate, from the north, same hometown as you, both parents are government officials. I could have learned that from the HR files. No, don't look at me with that expression. Just you wait. I'll go ask again. The result of her going again was that, in the break room, Jason Jiang said to me, I heard you've been asking about me. I nearly spilled my coffee on his face. If you want to know something, you can just ask me directly. I forced an awkward laugh. No, it's nothing. Jason Jiang smoothly continued. If you're too shy, you could always take me out to dinner. I was about to refuse, but then I remembered. He's half a rank above me. I was afraid he might make things difficult for me. So, I agreed. As quitting time approached, a female coworker leaned in close, her face practically begging me to ask her. I sighed helplessly. Did you find out whether Jason Jiang's standing up or sitting down? She rolled her eyes and said, Don't underestimate me. I found out he transferred here because of his fiancée. All right, fine. Maybe that's not exactly shocking news. You probably aren't surprised. Someone that handsome and well-off couldn't possibly be single. Hey, where are you going? I haven't finished. Before heading out to the appointment, I put on makeup. Not the kind of deceptively natural, no. Makeup look that actually took an hour to perfect last time. This time, I went with a celebrity-inspired style. One I carefully studied, tailored to suit my face shape and features. Just before leaving, I got a call from Finfong. Staring at the words, husband, on my phone screen, I froze for a moment. Finn almost never called me. Back then, even if I was out socializing until 10 p.m., he wouldn't bother checking in. I hung up, then texted him on WeChat, about to head out. If it's something urgent, you can message me. By the time I got in the car, there was still no reply from Finn. After a moment's thought, I sent another message. Is there something in the divorce agreement you're not satisfied with? As soon as I sent it, a red exclamation mark appeared. He had deleted me. My fingers instinctively tapped into Finn's moments. His profile was set to public, visible even to non-friends. The latest post was a screenshot of Arya and's moments. Arya and posted, You are my invincible summer. The accompanying image was a photo from several years ago, on a summer night at the beach. Two silhouettes. The long-haired woman danced gracefully, while the tall man held her waist, afraid she might stumble. After reposting, Finfong captioned, No introduction needed. Everyone knows. He clearly isn't as well read as Ariane. He probably didn't realize that Ariane's post was adapted from Camunos's wedding. Ariane wants to marry Finfong. I scrolled down a bit. Finfang's last moments post was from 2 years ago. He posted a photo at the airport, tagged the location, and wrote 2 words, business trip. Even without seeing, I knew how many comments were underneath. That location was another city in the same country where Ariane resides. In short, his moments have never had anything to do with me. Not even our wedding made it there. After having dinner with Jason Jiang, before parting, Jason Jiang suddenly said, Not having a drink? I was about to refuse when he added, You look like you could use a drink today. Perfect. So could I. He was as perceptive as that stray dog that used to linger around my building long ago. If I avoided its gaze, it knew I wasn't in the mood to engage that day. If I slowed my pace, it would come closer. When I headed home, it would pretend it was tired too and bid me farewell. Sadly, it disappeared later on. After a few drinks, I tugged at Jason Jiang's tie and cried, I know I'm average looking, but I work so hard. I'm good at my job. I have a great personality. Don't I deserve love? Jason Jiang took the glass from my hand and said with a smile, have you ever considered that the love you're talking about is just one kind? The kind that's more about looks? You're looking in the wrong place. He can only offer you that type of love. There are also people who care more about what's inside. I cut him off, nodding. I've known that for a long time, but why do you have to keep emphasizing this to me? Over and over again? I know I'm average, looking, and I've long come to terms with that. To be fair, I'm not ugly either, just ordinary. But when someone repeatedly comes up to tell you you're average, looking, it still gets under your skin. That's exactly what Fin Feng is doing right now. He keeps telling me over and over that he doesn't like me at all. Jason Jiang was both amused and exasperated. If you already know that, why are you crying so loudly? He got up and poured me a glass of water. Right, this time we were drinking at my place. I chuckled, a rare opportunity. As I lay in bed, I heard Jason Jiang say, if possible, you don't need to wear makeup next time we meet. I'm always afraid of getting it in your eyes when I help remove it. He paused, then added, I'm not someone who judges by appearances. As he got up to leave, I suddenly spoke up. Don't go tonight. I saw Jason Jiang's back stiffen. I have a guest room here. I really don't want anything to happen with someone who's engaged. I'm afraid she'll come to my workplace and hang a banner. Women aren't like men in these matters. Once caught up in such scandals, their careers are completely ruined. Early the next morning, the guest room's bedding was neatly spread without a trace of anyone having slept there. Apart from me, the house was empty. As I was pondering what to order for delivery, the doorbell rang. It was Jason Jiang in athletic wear, holding a thermal container. He said very naturally, you drank too much last night, so I made some millet porridge. I was out for a morning run anyway, so I dropped by to bring it to you. I was almost falling for him. Thankfully, I'm a wounded plain Jane who no longer easily believes in love, nor do I believe he has taken a fancy to me. As I was seeing Jason Jiang off, in the distance, I spotted a familiar figure, smoking by the flower bed. Fin Feng's gaze fell on Jason Jiang. Jason Jiang's hair was damp with sweat, making him look as if he'd just showered. Fin Feng crushed the cigarette in his hand. Jason Jiang stepped in front of me, tilting his head to ask, do you need me to explain things to him? As he spoke, he leaned in close, almost unintentionally. I caught a faint scent of sweat. It wasn't unpleasant. In fact, it was somewhat alluring. I shook my head. No need. Only after speaking did I realize. How did he know Fin Feng was my husband? Shouldn't that be impossible for an ordinary person to tell? Fin Feng enunciated each word sharply. Serena Chun, do you think I'm dead? His expression was utterly grim, glaring at me as if he wanted to devour me whole. Men are all like this. Whether they love you or not, they can't stand being cheated on. I asked Jason Jiang to leave first. After repeated confirmations, he finally left. Before going, he said softly, I'll be nearby. Just call if you need anything. Fin Feng's gaze was dark and intense. You weren't answering my calls because you were with him? Could it be that just because I didn't answer his call yesterday, he came here to confront me? We're just colleagues now. Don't overthink it. Fin Feng clearly didn't believe me, stepping closer until my back hit the wall. Do you take me for a fool? Colleagues don't leave your apartment first thing in the morning. I offered a brief explanation. Look at how handsome he is. Why would he ever be interested in me? That reason seemed convincing enough. Finally, I said calmly yet helplessly, if you insist on thinking that way, there's nothing I can do. Finn's expression froze for a moment. He gripped my wrist, his jaw tight and breath uneven. Seeing his anger rising, I hurriedly added, besides, I've never questioned you about your thing with Ariane. Finn's expression remained grim, but as if recalling something, his features softened slightly. Serena Chun, you don't need to get back at me like this. Any man willing to be with you is just playing around, looking for something free. Who isn't? Finn continued, if you're bothered by Arya, I can delete those social media posts and keep her out of your sight. In an instant, I grasped the meaning behind his words. Ji Yao and I are inseparable. From now on, I can transfer half of my annual income to your account as compensation. I let out a bitter laugh. I lifted my gaze to meet his eyes. That strikingly gorgeous face, I had chased after it for hundreds upon thousands of days and nights. Even after deciding to give up on him, I still couldn't help but be momentarily captivated by his appearance. But now, I'm truly tired of it. I'm tired of this shallow, one-sided love. Even the most delicious ice cream cone would grow tiresome after 1,000 days, especially when this cone's ingredients are mediocre. It's been licked by many others, and now it's sneaking off behind your back to be licked by even more. The thought of spending the rest of my life with this ice cream cone fills me with despair. I smiled bitterly. Fin Fong, do I deserve to be treated like this by you? All these years, I can honestly say I've never wronged you in any way. Every time you traveled for work, I packed your bags. When you had no time to deal with your family's social obligations, I handled all those connections. When your father was hospitalized while you worked abroad, I pulled strings to arrange his surgery. I refused to be a spectator to your love story with Ariane. Let's release each other. Fin Fong. Or is it that you're reluctant to let go? When a plain Jane asks for divorce, it's always because she's been hurt. Fin Fang's eyes held a momentary daze. His lips parted but no sound emerged. I understood him. If I were him, I wouldn't want to divorce someone like me either. Not out of deep love. It's because, seemingly accomplished yet insecure, presentable plain Janes like me are rare quality specimens in today's society. Perfect for marrying. I watched Fin Fong calmly, in no rush for his response, because, regardless of his answer, my decision would remain unchanged. Finally, he said, Serena Chun, you think too highly of yourself. Do you really think I can't bear to let you go? I'll have my lawyer send you the divorce papers. After saying that, he turned and left, as if I were some kind of monster chasing after him. I shrugged and casually replied, fine. Whatever he says goes. As long as we get divorced. There's been no progress between me and Jason Jiang. I deliberately kept my distance from him. My replies to his messages were polite and measured. With his high emotional intelligence, he certainly understood what I meant. I met a new man. He was quite young, with a boyish charm, and played in a band. I asked him why he wanted to meet me. The young guy was straightforward. I wanted to meet people from different industries, different ages, and different backgrounds. I really liked that answer. It felt pressure-free, a one-time date. In the end, I paid the bill. He wanted to exchange contact info, but I declined. As I left the restaurant, I got a call from my mom. I hadn't even said a word, yet she started berating me relentlessly. You want to divorce Fin Fong? He's a North City local. Do you realize how many years of struggle you've saved by marrying a local as an outsider? I think you've read too many books and gotten brainwashed. Listening to her haughty and triumphant voice on the phone, I felt somewhat dazed. The last time she could scold me with such self-righteousness was probably back in elementary school, because I said I wanted to adopt the stray dog downstairs. She locked me out, saying the family could only keep one, either it or me. After my dad came home, she couldn't wait to exaggerate the story and tell him all about it. My dad said she was making a mountain out of a molehill, and after smoothing things over, he let me back inside. After that, because I was just too outstanding, she never found another chance to scold me. Some books on East Asian families say, certain mothers harbor misogyny. They love you, yet they can't help but want to suppress and control you. Part of the reason is the absence of the husband's role. As the daughter, you inevitably had to take on some of the husband's functions. Ultimately, it's the ideological upbringing and social environment that make women emotionally and psychologically dependent on men. Yet men, as creatures, are prone to vanishing or, even when present, being as good as absent. My feelings toward her went through many stages: confusion, anger, understanding, calm, acceptance. I don't know if what this book says is right, but I've loved her from beginning to end. I just never wanted to become her. I refused to sacrifice my life, with all its infinite possibilities, for a mediocre man and a mediocre marriage. Over the phone, my dad's voice came through, urging reconciliation, as always. Don't be angry. Our daughter was just acting on impulse. You know how clever she usually is. My dad, so utterly ordinary, yet treated like an emperor at home. Someone washes his clothes, cooks his meals, bears his children, even giving him a brilliant daughter who carries his surname. He just had to act like he was working hard outside. Meanwhile, I had to fight my way through thousands just to earn the same treatment at home. I said, Fin Feng cheated. My mom's sharp voice cut off abruptly. Then, my dad spoke up. Could it be a misunderstanding? Fin isn't that kind of person, I added, more than once. My dad continued, but getting a divorce is still too impulsive. My mom's voice overpowered his. Do you want me to come stay with you? The night breeze carried a hint of spring warmth. I said with a smile, Mom, no need. I can handle this myself. You know I've always been clever. I tried reaching out to Fin Feng. He promised the divorce papers, but still hasn't given them to me. And now, he's complaining to my parents. At some point, he'd added me back, but my messages to him went unanswered, and his phone rang with no reply. It was Fin's mother who contacted me, of course, to try and reconcile us. It's all Xiaoyu's fault. I've already scolded him. He'll give you all his savings, and this will never happen again. I directly sent that video to her. After watching it, she said, Xiaoyu is just. I interrupted her and said sadly, Auntie, I love Fin Feng deeply, and I can't bear to let him go either. But since he's treated me this way, I have no choice. Fin Feng's mother noticeably froze upon hearing the term Annie. Before she could speak, I shifted the tone and said, Fin is somewhat of a public figure, and I don't want to make this too ugly. Please tell him that if he still doesn't reply to my messages, I won't hesitate to post this video online. I heard the sound of something shattering on the other end of the call. Seems like Fin Feng was there too. After saying that, I hung up the phone. That same day, I received the divorce papers. I took time off work to go back and file for divorce. At the entrance of City Hall, I waited for half an hour before Fin Feng finally showed up. Late, Arya and was sitting in his car. Arya was about to get out when she noticed my mother glaring at her. Indeed, my mother still came. She had the neighbor's kid help her book a flight ticket and came alone without telling me. Arya and retracted her stepping. Outleg, afraid my mother, and out of town small, town shrew, would point at her and call her a homewrecker. When my mother couldn't target Arya, she started cursing at Fin Feng. Fin called out Mom. Don't call me Mom. Our Chin family has no son. In law like you. After realizing that calling her Mom was useless and her scolding only intensified, Fin's face turned grim, and he couldn't help but retort, If it weren't for your daughter begging me, I never would have considered marrying her. That's just the kind of person Fin is. Even when he's in the wrong, he won't admit it. I pulled my mother back as her voice grew louder. I didn't want to listen to them argue. I'd asked someone to snag this divorce appointment slot. It was precious and couldn't be wasted. Later, the process went smoothly, and the staff reminded us to come back in a month to collect the divorce papers. Fin's gaze lingered on my pale, haggard face for a long time, just as my mom pulled me away. Arya and called out to him with a dark expression. Fin Feng's car soon vanished from sight. I figured he had originally brought Arya and to flaunt their relationship, but my mom ended up disrupting their performance. After they left, I found a cosmetics counter to remove my makeup. Since my mom rarely visited, I wanted to take her around, so I requested time off again. When I asked for leave, my boss seemed hesitant. New tasks had just come in, and I was requesting additional time off last minute. I was about to give up, but half an hour later, my boss approved my leave. It was Jason Jiang. He had taken over those tasks. After seeing my mom off and returning to work, I sent Jason Jiang a thank you message. Jason Jiang replied with just 2 words. No problem. Those 2 brief words. I stared at them for 10 whole minutes. They felt like a feather, gently tickling my heart. That guy, he's oddly reserved. I stuffed the scarf originally meant for Fin Feng into the gift bag, then feeling a bit guilty, bought a tie as well. After a month, I asked him out for drinks again. He didn't reply. I wasn't disappointed either. As adults, aside from money, there's nothing we absolutely must have. Half an hour later, he replied, I'll pick the place. Still very brief. I replied saying okay. Then, my doorbell rang. I had just accepted Jason Jiang's confession when I got a call from one of Fin Feng's dubious friends. He said he rarely falls for anyone, but he thought I was special since a few years back. I calculated the time he mentioned. Back then, I was nearing the end of my PhD, playing the sycophant to my advisor, scrambling for a decent job. At the dinner table, I was teased, mocked, and even subjected to crude jokes. I kept a straight face through it all. The patriarchal culture masked by modern civilization was on full display during those drinking sessions. Women were like dishes served at the table, there for teasing and lightening the mood. After the banquet ended, I arranged rides for each of the leaders, one by one. Jason Jiang had come with another big shot, a relative of his, so he was hardly pressured to drink and didn't need me to arrange anything for him. He watched me vomiting by the roadside, cursing out a whole group of people in dialect once I was done. Then, when I looked up, I saw him standing there. I was mortified, but comforted myself thinking he probably couldn't understand my dialect. So I put on an ingratiating smile. Mr. Jiang, why haven't you left yet? Actually, Jason Jiang understood every word. He understood that I'd cursed filthy and that I'd said some pretty cringy, edgy stuff. Then, he smiled and said he was stargazing. I looked up and saw only streetlights, thinking he might be blind. But if the boss says it's stars, then it's stars. Jason Jiang said. My eyes looked at him like he was an idiot, but the words out of my mouth were sycophantic. Later, he ran into me a few more times. Sometimes, I've already gotten what I wanted. Other times, I'm still striving for it. His honest expression couldn't conceal the ambition in his eyes. But before he could ask for my contact info, he accidentally heard from someone else that I was pursuing Fin Feng. After he finished speaking, I looked at him in surprise. You like me? He smiled helplessly. Didn't you figure it out long ago? You didn't want to take responsibility for me, so you deliberately kept your distance. All right, guiltily, I touched my nose and asked him, what about your fiancé then? He paused for a moment, then handed me his phone. I don't know where you heard that rumor. Whether I have a fiancé or not, you can see for yourself. I flipped through his phone, barely glancing at WeChat, mainly checking his balance. Then I decided we could give it a small try. Jason Jiang said, I haven't been in a relationship all these years, so I'll need you to be patient with me. Don't feel pressured. It's not because of you. It's just that I haven't met anyone else who interests me besides you. Before he could finish, I tugged on his tie and kissed him. For the first time, he showed signs of panic. His ears flushed crimson. When a mature, calculating man blushes, it hits differently than some young hothead. By the way, that's the tie I bought him. The next day, I returned a call to one of Fin Feng's dubious friends. He said, Serena Chun, Fin Feng broke his leg and ended up in the hospital. This time, he got my name right. He sounded cautious as he spoke. Not that it mattered. I hadn't even remembered his name to begin with. I said, you should call Ariane. Fin and I aren't from the same world. There was a brief silence on the other end. Then, he told me Fin's leg had been broken by thugs hired by Arya and Sugar Daddy. Arya and wanted to marry Fin Feng. In their circle, marriage and being kept aren't always mutually exclusive, but sometimes, the Sugar Daddy or the husband might take issue. Arya and was unlucky. Both her Sugar Daddy and her would be husband-minded. Her Sugar Daddy had a family of his own, but wouldn't allow her to marry. Fin Feng kept a crowd of women around himself, yet forbade her from having a Sugar Daddy. Because of his broken leg, several of Fin Feng's jobs fell through. The breach penalties drained what little savings he had. Fin Feng and his good, for nothing friends probably never expected I'd actually show up. When I appeared at the hospital, Fin Feng looked awkward, but a flicker of delight shone in his eyes. His worthless friends scrambled to make excuses and leave. Fin Feng's voice came out hoarse. How have you been lately? I set the fruit basket on the chair beside him and nodded. Just fine, but I haven't been doing so well. Why haven't you come back? Didn't you say it was a 3-day business trip? Were you lying to me? There was accusation in Fin Feng's gaze. Now that you're back, you won't leave again, right? I've already made things clear with her. We can go back to how we were before. I'd intended to fake some sorrow, but in the end, I couldn't hold back and laughed aloud. Maybe my acting was too convincing, giving him the wrong idea. to make him think I've been waiting here all along, ready to be his backup at any moment. Fin Feng looked at me, a hint of confusion in his eyes. I wiped away the tears I'd accidentally laughed out, then said, I came back because there's work that requires my presence. Reminding you, we're going to get the divorce papers the day after tomorrow. You can come in a wheelchair if needed. If that's too much, I'll hire a nurse for you. Fin Feng stared at me in astonishment. After saying that, I left. On the day of the formal appointment, Fin Feng wasn't late. Right up until we got the divorce papers, he was still saying, it's not too late to change your mind now. We don't have to get divorced. As we walked out of City Hall together, he took a deep breath and said, Serena Chun, I know I made some mistakes before, hurt you, but Jason Jiang stepped out of the car and opened the door for me. Fin Feng stared blankly at the scarf around Jason Jiang's neck, watching me smile and talk with him. All done, I nodded, waved the papers in my hand, and got into the car. Before leaving, only after ensuring the divorce papers were in hand, did I tell Fin Feng the truth. I said, actually, I deeply regret it. I'm not like Ariane. I tend to regret things quite easily, although I carefully consider every step I take. My limited life experience and perspective mean mistakes still happen, but I'll regret and course correct at the same time. Regret isn't something to be ashamed of. I regret marrying you. Someone like you is only good for a casual fling, not marriage material at all. Finn seemed stunned, not quite processing it yet. I gave him a bright, grateful smile, and I have to thank you. If you hadn't cheated, I wouldn't have known how to bring up divorce. If you hadn't made such a fundamental mistake, no one would have taken my side. But the foundation of a marriage was never about whether the man crossed a line. People say marriage is a serious commitment, not a game. You can't just divorce because love fades, but precisely because it's a major matter. We cannot afford any mistakes. After saying this, Jason Jiang started the car and drove off with me. In the rearview mirror, Fin Feng seemed to be trying something, but ended up falling from his wheelchair. After that, Fin Feng came looking for me, but the security at the unit entrance drove him away. He cursed, saying I was treating him like a dog, but no one believed him. After all, I'm just a plain Jane. Years later, I heard by chance that he went abroad to find Arya and ended up contracting that disease. After that, there was no more news of him. By the way, by that time, I had reached a position where I no longer needed to press elevator buttons myself. As for who the man still following me was, it didn't matter. Either he pleased me, or he could help me climb even higher.